What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Show. My name's AJ Gels. How y'all doing? It is time once more for the weekly show. I know, it's been a couple weeks without one. As the title says, I didn't forget, I procrastinated. Big difference. No, 1 week it was just dealing with the new computer and everything, and like 3 games came out the day that I got my new computer, so just a whole bunch of stuff kind of all happened at once there. Last week, it was just work stuff and I got tired, and this week I'm actually sitting here doing it. I know, all happy with me. If you're new to this program, basically what I do, I sit here, I gather articles, sometimes videos, and we sit here talk about the weekly news in gaming. As you can see, there's a crap load of articles. And this wasn't even everything. I had more stuff on my Twitter, which, by the way, if you want to get an idea of usually what I'm going to be talking about at the show, follow me over on Twitter. I usually retweet most of the articles that I'm going to be talking about on Saturdays. It also lets you see all my videos, articles, whatever I do. It all gets sent through Twitter. Twitter kind of acts like a nexus to all the other stuff on the channel. So, yeah. Yes, that was a not so sly way of me trying to promote my Twitter. But yeah, that's basically what I do here with this show. So we'll be looking at stuff for over the last 3 weeks, I think it is. If you want to tell me, AJ, you didn't say anything about Reggie Fils-Aimé in this. I know, but mostly because other than his replacement, what's his name? Isn't it Doug Bowser? Which is funny. I do kind of want him to do something like Kojima did. That E3 came out talking about Metal Gear Solid 5 when he came out with all the bandages over his head. I kind of want Bowser just to show up at E3. You know what? I want Nintendo to be at E3 just to let this guy do this so he can walk out on stage wearing a Bowser head. I want this in my life. No, beyond that, I mean, there's really, what else can I say? I mean, Fils-Aimé did a lot of really great work. I think he was with Nintendo of America like 15 years, 14 of them as the president. He's been the U.S. face and really, I guess, the public face for Nintendo for a long time. So I wish him the best with if he's going to move on and do something else. But seeing that he's retiring and not leaving the position to go somewhere else, best of luck with whatever he's doing. Or I hope he has fun, hanging out with his family and whatever he's doing. So that's pretty much my entire take on that. I just didn't feel like, why go through a massive article just to say that? So either way, that's enough. Just kind of sitting here and chatting. Let's take a look at what we've got set up first. And first couple articles are talking about the Outer Worlds. We got a couple got some news about this a few weeks ago. This is from 19 days ago. This is Andy Chalk. The Outer Worlds will feature VAT-like slow-mo combat and unique companions. I have an article in Game Informer up next that'll actually go into a lot more depth on the companions, but this kind of gives us a nice overview of a lot of the stuff we'll be seeing in The Outer Worlds. Article reads, Obsidian's The Outer Worlds is an RPG, and that means you'll be doing a lot of talking and exploring and sneaking around in places you shouldn't be. It also means lots of fighting, because no matter how God damn it, that's not controversial, it's conversational you might like to be, sooner or later you're going to end up in a scrap, and then another, and another, and another. And you probably haven't even left the tutorial area yet. Speaking to Game Informer, co-director Tim Kaine and lead designers Charles Staples explained what the developers are going to ensure the players don't end up being bogged down in or bored with too much fighting. Stupid cat. Go over there. Sorry, he was walking in front of my screen. Love him, but I am about... Oh my gosh, I was about to say something mean about him, and I don't want to because he's so cute. Sorry, I like cats. What was I talking about? Well, we're talking about the Outer Worlds. And I quote, I don't want anyone to either think our combat's boring, but I also don't want them to think there was too much rote combat in the game, end quote. Kaine says in the video, and I quote, I want them to come away thinking that combat was exciting, it was fun, and when it happened, it was a little scary. You could always die, there's always a chance you could die, but that if you basically thought about it, and were tactical, you could get through pretty much any encounter, end quote. Honestly, I have extreme faith in this game. I am very excited for this, and I think it's an obvious reason. It's Obsidian. They made my favorite Fallout game. In all honesty, I loved New Vegas. You want to tell me 3 was better? Maybe if you're looking at it as a pure RPG. I can maybe give you 3 was better, But in my opinion, combat was so messed up in 3. It took the fun out of it. I just couldn't shoot straight. I couldn't aim down sights with guns, and shooting didn't feel right to me in Fallout 3. It kind of ruined the RPG elements because shooting wasn't good. Again, that's my opinion, but I also know a ton of other people who said they hated shooting in Fallout 3. They loved the story, loved the talking and all the other stuff. They hated the combat. New Vegas, I thought actually took RPG elements and added a shooting mechanic that actually worked. It was a lot of fun. I love Fallout New Vegas. Hell, I love playing on hardcore mode and all that stuff. Then we got Fallout 4, and you can say what you want about Fallout 4. I would argue probably the best shooter we've ever gotten. Not great RPG elements. I'd like to see RPG elements of previous Fallout games used with forced combat. And then you got Fallout 76, and we're just not going to talk about Fallout 76 and the sadness that it brings me as a somewhat fan of the franchise. What was I talking about? I was talking about a game. For some reason, I got stuck in talking about Fallout. No, New Vegas was easily my favorite Fallout game. So I really, after playing that, it actually really makes me stoked that they're coming out and doing another kind of like RPG shooter. I love from everything that I've kind of seen bits and pieces of it. It looks like it doesn't take itself too seriously. It kind of gives me a Borderlands or kind of Rage sort of feel. I think it's going to be a little more serious than those two. But I definitely think that there's going to be some laughs. There's going to be good writing. There's going to be good RPG mechanics. The game looks good from what we've seen. I'm honestly pretty pumped for this game. All right, now that I'm done gushing and just stating my opinion, I have totally lost my mouse. Maybe it's because it's on my other screen. Oh, God. Let's see here. A major part of that will be TTD, or Tactical Time Dilation. That just sounds wrong to me, which looks quite similar to Fallout's VATS. Staples said the slow-mo system will enable people who, and I quote, are not the best FPS players, end quote, to still be tactically effective in combat, while those who are handy with digital firearms can use it to take advantage of bonus effects conferred by plugging someone in a particular part of the body. Your TDD reservoir will drain at varying rates depending on what you're doing. You'll have plenty of time to stand around enjoying the scenery, but the clock will run down much faster once you start shooting at people. So, saying it looks quite similar to VATS. It is VATS. That's kind of how I would describe that. Well, I guess because it slows things down, it doesn't like completely freeze things. Like you can't use like you can use VATS to just kind of hang out and kind of like pause action. I don't know. To me, it just sounds like VATS. Companions will also feature prominently in fights. They can be given orders, will have their own special abilities, and will lend their combat skills to leader characters who aren't as proficient in combat as other types. Companions can also be assigned perks that will change how those abilities work in different ways. Weapons will come in different types like energy, kinetic, and melee, as well as different brands that will focus on different priorities. See, that's what I was talking about, where it kind of reminded me of Borderlands, when we're talking about like energy, kinetic, melee weapons and all that, and then you have the different brands of weapons. Again, very similar to what Borderlands did with the different brands of weapons and what each of them specialized in. Some had low ammo capacity but dealt tons of damage. Some had higher firing rates but less damage. A lot of stuff like that. Spacer's choice weaponry, for instance, tends to break down a lot, but they're also really cheap and easy to fix, while another brand enables a higher than usual degree of customization. Players will I'm going to guess they left out a word here. Players will have access, there we go, to a little bit of everything in the early game and can scale up to heavier firepower as the game progresses. I think it's really says something that The Outer Worlds appears on our list of most anticipated RPGs of 2019 and most promising shooters. As Staples put it, and I quote, we are an RPG first, but it still looks like a shooter, so it needs to play like a shooter, end quote. See, that statement right there is another reason what gives me so much hope for this game. Is I have been saying this for years, and some people call me nuts. If you're going to be I'm trying to think how best to put this. You know what? Let's take Mass Effect Andromeda, for instance, because I think this is one of the more recent examples of this. The shooting was okay. I mean, I would still argue that in terms of combat, I don't know why my voice cracked there. In terms of combat, Mass Effect 2 was the best, in my opinion. But that's because when you were doing shooting, it was a shooter. When we're out in the world doing conversation and RPG stuff, it was an RPG. You could argue that you want more of a fluid transition between the two, as opposed to just like load screens. It's like, okay, we're in a combat area, and now we're not in a combat area. I get that, but I think that's what Mass Effect Andromeda kind of blurred the lines way too much between those. Like, there are certain areas that it's a shooting area, but the shooting never felt locked in and solid. I'm trying to think exactly how to describe this in as concisely as I can, and it's not. It's just, I'm sure you guys out there listening have played shooters or played games that aren't shooters, but shooting is your main form of combat. That you're like, okay, I like the world, the RPG elements, everything like that, but the shooting is just bad. It's hard to control, it's clunky, or it's too loose. It's just, there's something about it I don't like. That's what I'm getting at. Games, if you're going to mix genres, you have to do the multiple genres well. You know, if you're going to be like a tactical combat game and an RPG or whatever, you have to do both. You can't just pick one and let the other kind of slide. You gotta do everything right, and I think that's what Obsidian's doing here. It's like they said, it's an RPG first. So, okay, yeah, the RPG end will probably be a little bit more polished, but it's still gotta be a good shooter. It's got to stand on its own as a shooter, and I like that. I'm starting to repeat myself now. Sorry. I feel like I've made my point. If you get it, you do. If you don't, I'll try to explain it a different way. Somewhere down the line, ask me. We'll talk. I really got to get a new ad block. What was I talking about? All right, this is an article on Game Informer by Jojuba. Hopefully that's how that's pronounced. This is a similar article to the last one, but it goes more into what companions do. Let's see here. You may be exploring faraway star system in the outer worlds, but that doesn't mean you need to be lonely. Well, you do if you're me, but that's because I don't have any friends. I'm sad now. You encounter other people during your travels who are willing to fight by your side and join your crew, and who enrich your experience by offering different perspectives. We talked to a team of writers at Obsidian to get specific info on 3 of the companions you can recruit, as well as various other tidbits about the studio's general approach to these characters. Generally, one writer handles all of a companion's interactions. If you take a liking to one particular companion, odds are good that you have a single member of Obsidian's writing team to thank. Though parts of the process are certainly collaborative, all of a character's interactions are usually guided by one person for consistency's sake. And I quote, "It's a lot easier to keep any character in the hands of one person because everyone's going to put their own spin on a character to some extent," says senior narrative designer Carrie Patel. I'm not sure. The more a character changes hands, the more you're getting multiple different executions, multiple different flavors, end quote. See, this is actually something that I've kind of put a lot of thought into, and I actually think this is going to give us more robust characters. And if you wonder what I mean by that, it's I think we're going to see, and I could be wrong on this, okay? So don't say this isn't something I have like an inside track on. But usually a lot of companions are they're archetypal characters. You know, they're archetypes, or they have one glaring character flaw, but it's a general character flaw that you usually see in companion characters. You know, they're too hard-headed, or they have family issues, or there's this. And I'm like, okay, it's okay. You know, play any number of, again, I'm going to keep comparing this to Mass Effect for some reason. Compared to any of the Mass Effect games, when you're doing companion quests, you know what the hell I'm talking about. Even though I'd argue some of the Mass Effect companions, Garrus, Liara, some people want to argue Ashley. I don't know. I still like her. There are characters. A lot of the Mass Effect characters do have some depth to them. Some don't. It's again a whole thing. Where was I going with this? Son of a bitch! I gotta stay on track more than I do. Basically, what I'm getting at is, I think with a team of writers trying to all come together to create one character, maybe it does kind of make characters a little robust, a little kind of cookie cutter, or again, archetypal. But with this, with letting one person really delve into and handle a character, I think this allows these characters to be more individual. You know, it really kind of makes them very unique compared to not just the other companions in the game, but even companions in other games. Again, this is a total guess. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see when this game comes out whether or not I'm right. But again, that's just the kind of vibe I'm getting. If what they're talking about, the way they're talking about this, kind of had me look at this stuff, because I never really thought like what goes into writing for a companion. But they make a good point that having one person lead the discussion on particular characters really does it really does add a consistency to the character, and I like that idea. All right, let's see here. The crew dynamic is important. While the team wants the companions to be interesting as individuals, they also need to cohere as a group. They banter as you walk around, interact with each other on your ship, and bring different capabilities into battle. And I quote, "We knew we needed companions with sort of the Firefly flavor," says narrative designer Nitai Padar. I have no idea. We wanted them to be a band of not quite misfits, but different personalities coming together on the same ship. And we knew we wanted a fairly confined number of them so that each would be individual, end quote. See, most people would be excited to hear that Firefly reference. Does nothing for me. Never watched it. My ex-girlfriend absolutely hated the fact that I never watched Firefly. I never gave it a shot. I tried to watch an episode. It's just not for me. I don't know why. What was I doing? God damn, I keep losing my train of thought. Profile. This is Ellie, one of the companions. I think she was in the banner. We've seen her a lot in a few cutscenes. I'm not sure if we actually heard dialogue from her, but we've seen her in bits and pieces of trailer. And I quote, "She's a professional sort of pirate, but she also has a very mercenary outlook toward a lot of things," end quote, says senior narrative director Carrie Patel. And I quote, "She's fairly pragmatic, pretty easygoing. I think it's important when you're talking about companions to have a spread of dispositions. She's definitely not someone who's going to get too mad at you for being the bad guy, and she has a few things about her past that she's tried to get away from." So again, when I'm talking about archetypes, I'm thinking she's kind of your like neutral character that kind of you can kind of do a little bit of everything. You know, she's fine if you want to be kind of a good guy, but also be kind of a bad guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, and I know that almost completely counteracts what I just said about the characters being so different from everyone else and avoiding archetypes. I don't know. Again, I'm just kind of throwing out comments and thoughts as they come. You encounter them early. Opportunities to recruit companions are front-loaded to avoid the sense of underdeveloped characters joining late in the journey. Yeah, I can see that. And I quote, "You encounter all the companions in the first third of the game because it's no fun getting a companion in the last hour," end quote, co-director Tim Kaine told us at the game's unveiling. Again, I'm going to compare this to Mass Effect, mostly because, again, it's the game that has companions that I mostly remember. And again, I guess going to Mass Effect 2, it's kind of like when you get Legion. I'm trying to think. Legion, Samara. I just saw something for the Ring, so for some reason I just watched a YouTube video on the Ring. So maybe that's why that name's in my head. But I believe the Justicar was Samara. I believe that was her name. Thane Krios. Jeez, why was that so hard? He's my favorite one. I love the Drell. And all them, you know, you got them, maybe not fairly late, but I guess in the second third of the game. Wait, does that make sense? If you break the game into thirds, you got them kind of in the middle-ish section. And then you had the end third of the game to really kind of get to know them. Again, it's just, I like this idea of, basically what I'm trying to get at. I like this idea of them being early on in the campaign as opposed to getting them sprinkled throughout the beginning/middle. There we go. They help in battle and beyond. You can bring 2 companions along with you when you leave your ship. In addition to their unique special attacks, you can also give them weapons to steer their approach to combat. Okay, so I'm going to guess that we can actually outfit them differently depending on who they are. You also benefit from a portion of each companion's key skill scores. If a lock is too difficult for you to pick alone, bring the right companion might give you, oh, that's cool, give you the boost you need. If you need an even bigger boost, you can take certain perks to increase how much you benefit from your allies' aptitudes. And I quote, "We realize that companions could be used a lot more tactically. Kane said, "We wanted to put in skills that control that," end quote. We've seen variants of that, but I like that idea. So like if like I said, because I like to play kind of a rogue, lock-picking kind of character. So if I bring what I'm going to guess is Ellie, my lock-picking could probably go through the roof depending on how my score is. And I like that idea. I like games that kind of do something like that. Let's see, you can do quests for them. Every companion has something you can help with. Again, character. I'd be surprised if there weren't these kind of missions. And in all honesty, I actually like companion quests. In all honesty, I'm not gonna lie, I like companion quests. I really like companion quests. While these tasks vary in length, don't expect all of them to be multi-stage, multi-hour affairs. They give players a chance to get to know the companions better. That's why I like them. And get rewards to improve their performance or customize their quarters. Again, why I like them. And I quote, some problem that is essential to their character that is explored in that particular quest, Padar says, and that's also something we like to ask ourselves when we start fleshing out these companions. What is their motivation? What is driving them? Profile Parvati, and I quote, Parvati is a very sweet, naive person, says senior narrative designer Megan Starks. She doesn't really fit in with the community, because it's all about conforming and putting the corporations first. As a mechanic, she likes to give personalities to the machines she's working on and creating, and that doesn't fit in very well with the society. So I think it's nice to have two companions who are coming at it from opposite sides. Parvati saying, "Oh, we should help those people," and then Ellie is a lot more like, "Well, me and mine." End quote. Again, I guess this is another thing. She's kind of your do-gooder engineer. I guess not technically an archetype, but again, I can fit this character into a sort of class. Although I guess it would be hard to kind of do things without classes, do an RPG without classes. I like having a class system, whatever. That again, a lot of what I'm kind of saying and arguing here, it comes down to your own particular takes on RPGs. So. The Outer Worlds puts a big focus on player choice, and that extends to deciding whether or not you even recruit companions when you have the chance. Oh, so I'm guessing from that you can not recruit them at all. Would you prefer to play as a loner? You can do that and finish the game, though you might miss some neat stuff. And I quote, with a game like ours, there's a balance you have to strike, because you don't have to recruit the companions, Patel says. You can have a full, complete experience of our game, minus the companion content, if you never recruit them, but at the same time, we do want them to feel very involved for the player who chooses to bring them along. While we have to be careful not to make them mandatory, we also look for ways to bring them in, end quote. I like that idea. It's an interesting way of letting the player kind of shape the experience. Aren't necessarily forever. When companions join, they aren't swearing a fealty oath for eternity. If you do things they don't like, they aren't obligated to stick around. And I quote, we do have ways that a companion can choose to leave you, says senior narrative designer Megan Starks. So again, like with her, if I go like full on renegade, I go renegade shepherd, she's going to turn on me. Or, well, not turn on me, but, kind of leave our crew. Interesting. I probably won't go like full on renegade. I usually lean like on just on the good, just on the side of good. Like I like to play. I always describe it as the puckish rogue. I like to help somebody, but I also like to get paid for what I'm doing. Let's see here. Profile for Felix. And I quote, Felix is a rebel without a cause, says narrative designer Nitai Padar. According to some companions, he would also be a rebel without a clue. He's a young, impetuous, brash kid, Ezio Auditore, who really loves fighting the man, kind of Ezio Auditore. He doesn't have a stable political philosophy beyond smash the system. Anarchist Auditore. He tends to get in trouble everywhere he goes. When the player finds him, he got into an altercation with his foreman, which may have involved his foreman making fun of his favorite tossball team, and that's just not acceptable. Despite his problem with authority, Felix will latch onto the player very quickly. I can't really see the haircut because of the background they chose, but I don't know. Again, I'm still going to say Ezio Auditore. They aren't governed by a moral system. If a companion does leave, it won't be because of gradual affinity erosion or because you don't give them enough random gifts. They're calling you out, BioWare. The game doesn't quantify your relationships in that sense. Instead, their commitment to you is thrown into jeopardy depending on certain major choices you make. Plus, you will understand the characters' personalities well enough to know their positions, so it won't be a big surprise if they get upset when, or if you cross the line, and I quote, even if you lose a points-based moral system, I think you gain something by handcrafting specific moments where a companion is like, and I quote, why would you do this? You're completely out of your mind, end quote, Padar says. And that also gives the player an interesting opportunity to say, you might be thinking that, but here are my reasons why. And sometimes we can attach that to a persuade or leadership check, and that helps the player feel more rewarded, end quote. That's interesting. That it's, I mean, I get though that you could have done this without a moral system, but still have like certain choices that would end up having a companion leave. But I also like how it gives you kind of like the chance to explain your reasoning. Like, I might have done this bad thing, but I did it for a good reason to keep a certain character with. That's interesting. Depending on how that's done, that could be a really interesting system. I can't name a lot of games that does something exactly like that. I've seen maybe some similar ideas, but nothing like that. That's cool. Let's see here. They are different but unified. Companions have different and sometimes directly oppositional personalities and viewpoints, but they do have something that brings them together. You. And I quote, them wanting to go with you unites them more than anything, Stark says. Because they still argue with each other, and it takes a while for them to get comfortable, end quote, but they are also tied together by more than just physical proximity. In a world that values corporate loyalty and assimilation, they all have trouble finding what they want, and I quote, I think they all end up where they are, and they all end up willing to step back from where they start out, because they look at their situation and realize something isn't right or satisfying for them, end quote, Patel says. For more on the Outer Worlds Club, blah, 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 blah. You can follow the article. Article links in the description, by the way, to, come and read more about what they have. And I'm going to guess that there's going to be more than 3 companions. I'm going to guess 6. I'm going to guess 5 or 6 at most. Because the way they're putting this, they're going to be, there's not going to be a whole hell of a lot of them. But I think they're going to be, again, they're going to be good characters. And I guess there's going to be 5 or 6. I'm leaning towards 6. All right, coming up, we got one more. If this will load and my computer doesn't explode, because I have way too much crap open. Our final article for the Outer Worlds, actually something that came out this week, article by Fraser Brown of PC Gamer. Apparently, the Outer Worlds release date may have appeared on Steam. I mean, they say appears on Steam, but again, the reason I say apparently appears on Steam is because I don't think Obsidian has come out and said, yes, that was the real release date. So, The Outer Worlds, Obsidian's upcoming first-person RPG, could be landing as soon as August 6th if a release date that was quickly added and then removed from Steam is to be believed. An update to the game's Steam page included the release date along with details on language support and more, though clearly someone hit the switch too early. The release date has since been replaced with 2019. Obsidian has yet to confirm on an official release date, but August 6th doesn't sound implausible. While the developer is known for sprawling RPGs like New Vegas and Pillars of Eternity, The Outer Worlds will be a bit leaner, clocking in at anywhere from 15 to 40 hours, which I would still argue is a pretty meaty game. I mean, sure, it's not New Vegas, it's not Pillars of Eternity, it's not The Witcher. But still, 15 to 40 hours isn't much to sneeze at. That's a decent-sized game. Especially also if you're me and you play at the pace I do, it could be anywhere from 80 to 100 hours. It certainly does. Look, I'm going to be entirely honest. I played The Witcher 3, and how long did it take me to complete that game? It took me way longer. I think it took me almost a full year to beat The Witcher because I got distracted doing so much different crap. I would also sit and play Gwent for hours on end because I like Gwent. Sorry, I got distracted. It certainly doesn't sound like a small game, but it will be one of Obsidian's shortest. While a game's length doesn't necessarily determine how long it takes to create, the shift from sandboxes to a tightly controlled world is bound to save Obsidian some time, and according to co-director Leonard Boyarsky, is a more realistic goal for a team of this size with the budget it has. Tyranny was similar Similarly, more focused and popped up very quickly, though it was also an isometric RPG that had the benefit of Pillars of Eternity, in particular its modified Unity engine as a foundation. Restraint is the opposition. God damn it, I can't read. Restraint is the opposite of what we usually get in RPGs this day, which seems to forget that we're merely mortal and our time on this plane is fleeting. Potentially being able to finish it up in a weekend or two is one of the biggest selling points for me. My life is spent endlessly gathering RPGs, kinda. I get that feeling, and endlessly gathering RPGs, knowing the only way I'll ever make a dent in the list is nobody releases a new game for the next few years. I know that feeling wholeheartedly. While the release date is gone for now, SteamDB has saved its changes for posterity. Its brief appearance doesn't guarantee an August 6th release, but it's a good indicator. In the meantime, here's everything we know about the Outer Worlds. Now, I think that, again, I think August is just as good a time as any. Maybe I'm hoping that because I want the game now. But again, what they were saying there even gave us a little bit more look into what the Outer Worlds is. How it's not some big open world RPG. It's more like a series of more... how do they put it? Shift from sandboxes to a tightly controlled world. Yeah, a tightly controlled world. For some reason, my mind is making me think BioShock. How it was open, but at the same time, it was more... The game definitely directed you on certain paths to go and do things in a certain order. You see that with, I think, a lot of games like that it's open world, but it's linear at the same time. That's just the vibe I'm getting. Like, there's going to be hubs, but then when you're out doing missions, it's going to be a little bit more of a linear experience. Again, this is a total guess, but that's the vibe I got, and I guess after about 30-some minutes, I'm going to be done talking about the Outer Worlds, and it's time to move on, and we got a crapload of articles still to go. I'm actually going to take a real quick break, so if you see the time down at the bottom of the screen just rapidly change, sorry about that, but I got to stand up, and I don't know. I have to go cry a little bit. All right, I know what was seconds to you guys. If you notice the clock down there, I was gone for a lot longer than I meant to. I got a phone call and got lost talking to the person on the phone. All right, taking a look at the next article. An article on PC Gamer. Paradox ARG hints at Vampire the Masquerade related announcement in March. Article by Samuel Horty of PC Gamer. Paradox's dating app alternate reality game Tender, that's a real thing, has continued its vampire-related teases and promised a big announcement on March 21st, which has us excited that ever at the prospect of a sequel to or remaster of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, the 2004 RPG. Tender is a soulmate algorithm that asks your blood type for inviting you to match with sick people near you. Romantic, right? The hints that it could be linked to the Vampire the Masquerade universe, which Paradox has the rights to after buying White Wolf Publishing in 2015. Really? Paradox bought White Wolf. Interesting. Have intensified in the past week. Take, for example, this clip from a recent Tender live stream, which shows Santa Monica Pier on the key locations, one of the key locations in Bloodlines. Then there's this memo from Tender CEO Malcolm Chandler. I still have Tender, that's freaking hilarious, which also happens to be the name of the author of a book called Vampire Brides from Planet Hell. The memo contains plenty of vampire-related references, such as Thrall, Regent, and Hunter. The memo sent to Tender's chief technical officer says, and I quote, "We must be ready for San Francisco on March 21st. 300 Tender users will be invited to a party, some of them flown from around the world. This will be the biggest announcement in the history of my company," end quote. As Game Informer notes, this year's Game Developers Conference takes place in San Francisco, March 18th to the 22nd. We still don't know what any of this means, but clear that something's afoot. No doubt we'll find out more next month. Honestly, if this is just them trying to bring up hype for a remaster of Vampire the Masquerade, I'd be stoked. I really liked that game. I mean, but it has a few issues. One, it controls like ass, and two, it looks like ass. I believe it was a Unity engine game, but let's be honest, you'll go back and look at that game. That game looks terrible. But God, it did some really cool things. Like, the Vampire the Masquerade world is really neat with all the different forms of vampires and whatnot. The fact that if you play as a Nosferatu, you basically play on hard mode without realizing it because you can't be seen by regular people, so you have to play the game entirely on stealth, and you can only eat rats. All right, no, I think you're the only species that can eat rats. I can't remember exactly how that worked out. Either way, Vampire the Masquerade was a really interesting universe. I really hope this is real, and I really hope this is what it looks like, because it's what I think I said. I can't remember what I said on Twitter the first time I saw, not this article, but there was one that announced when Tender became a Tender. Sorry, when this became a thing, I was honestly, I'm sitting there going, dear God, I hope this is real. I really, really hope that we get a Vampire the Masquerade, either, like I said, either remaster or maybe a sequel. If it's a sequel, I kind of hope that they don't make you have to play 2004's Vampire the Masquerade. Seeing that it's based on a tabletop RPG, I think you could do so much with it. Just because, let's look at tabletop RPGs just as a medium. I mean, with something like Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, there's established lore in Dungeons and Dragons. You know, there are set campaigns that you can play out of books and whatnot. But I mean, you can go completely homebrew and do something that fits within the universe at a certain time period, but your entirely own thing. So I mean, honestly, with the fact that this is based off of a tabletop RPG series, and I know there's been a lot of stuff in the Vampire the Masquerade, kind of like universe, be it games, books, yada yada yada. Again, I think they could do a whole lot of different things with this, and I'm really hoping that it's a sequel to the Masquerade Bloodlines, but it's kind of like a spiritual sequel, if that makes sense. It's hey, you can do other, you know what I mean? You can do other, you don't have to play 2004's. We'd recommend it, but you don't have to play it. How's that? All right, moving on. Except really, that I just wanted to talk about that for a quick second because, one, I love the whole thing about Tender, and two, I love Vampire the Masquerade, and I really hope that's real. Moving on to actually a game I had planned to play this month. If the article will load, and this is an article on Game Informer that, Jesus, I really have way too many tabs open. And I also, my computer fan's loud, and I feel, whenever my computer fan starts doing this, I always feel like my computer's about to explode, and it makes me scared. Lovecraftian adventure, The Sinking City, looks like it's been delayed. Article by Yavi Gualtini. I have no idea how to pronounce that. This is a pretty short article. For many years, Lovecraft enthusiasts, The Sinking City. For many Lovecraft enthusiasts, The Sinking City has. Okay, I've totally misread that. For some reason, I was putting in a different word. My bad. For many Lovecraft enthusiasts, there we go. The Sinking City has been a grim delight lurking on the horizon. The game was initially due out March 21st. However, that looks like it might no longer be the case. The astute folks at PC Gamer have noticed the release date of the game has disappeared, where March 21st once was. A new description appears, 2019. No word yet from Frogwares or publisher Big Ben Interactive, but it looks like you'll have to wait a little longer to get your supernatural sleuth on. I've seen a lot of different things with this game. I've seen some like detective elements, some third-person shooter elements. I've seen some different stuff. I love the idea of Lovecraftian horror, all that stuff with Cthulhu and the sea-based horror. I still plan on finishing Call of Cthulhu, but that game had failed to grab me for so long that I really need to hop back into it, and I've just been distracted with, in all honesty, better games. But I am interested in playing another kind of like Lovecraftian game. I mean, The Sinking City, just the concept really kind of grabbed me. Like I said, kind of like this supernatural detective thing. I stand by. I think Murdered Soul Suspect was a really cool idea. Maybe failed a little bit in the execution, but it was a cool idea. I like detective games like L.A. Noire. So, if you have like a detective sort of thing, I mean, it's why I love Danganronpa. It's why I want to play the Zero Escape series. Which I also believe was that a Spike Chunsoft game? That might have been a Spike Chunsoft game. I could be wrong on that, but I think it was by the same people who did Danganronpa. And then there's the Ace Attorney series, which I know is coming to multiple platforms soonish. Sorry, I've gotten way off the topic. I've started explaining why this game excites me, and then got into something totally different. No, I like these sort of detective-based games, and then the fact that you said, and it's that mixed with some Lovecraftian ideas. I'm down. Kind of like Call of Cthulhu. I'm just hoping it's better than Call of Cthulhu. All right, so moving on. That's about all I had. For this. Really, for the next couple articles are probably going to be a lot of quick hitters. I have a more meaty topic set up for the middle, but for now, it's just kind of some quick hitters. So we finally got a release date. This is about 2-3 weeks ago for Catherine Full Body. It's set for September. I'm pumped. I'm playing it on the channel. No way in hell I'm not playing this on the channel. Honestly, this kind of makes me want to buy it on Steam and then play the regular version and then play Full Body, just because I love Catherine. I love the shit out of Catherine. It was a great game. Really kind of a cult puzzle hit. I mean, if you've not played Catherine, to actually describe it to you is kind of hard. It deals with some weird themes. It deals with, with the concepts of fidelity and the ideas of, selfishness or responsibility. It deals with a lot of like how dreams affect the real life with its own way of handling things. It's got demons, and it's like I said, to sit and do like a concise connection of what Catherine is. I also kind of want. No, I don't necessarily want this collector's edition, but I want the steelbook. I really like that steelbook. Like I said, to actually sit here and really go into what Catherine is, at its base level, it's a puzzle game, but it's so much more than that. I mean, there's visual novel aspects to it. There's this, and then I can't even go into the freaking story mode. I know I've spent more time saying I can't describe it to you than it might take to describe it, but it's just. If you haven't basically what I'm trying to say, if you haven't checked out Catherine, the original is on Steam. Go check it out. It's really good. I heavily recommend the game. In the spirit of Valentine's Day, Catherine Full Body, the remastered version of the 2011 cult classic, got a release date. It will be released on September 3rd, and it will come out with plenty of new content for returning fans. In addition to improved visuals, Full Body will have over twice as many puzzles as the original and a safety mode that allows players to skip any if they get stuck or just want to see the story play out. The Full Body version of the game will also include an entirely new character, Rin, to make the story just a bit more complicated. I'll just finish this out and then I'll go into something. Atlas is also releasing a Heart's Desire Collector's Edition of the game for $79.99. Oh, really? This is for $79.99? Oh, then actually I might buy it. Which comes housed in a box modeled after the game's puzzling towers. The edition also includes a steelbook case, art book, the game soundtrack, and a sheet plush. Honestly, now I kind of want to buy it. I'm probably going to get that now because, one, the art book and soundtrack... The soundtrack was actually pretty good. Maybe I'd like the soundtrack. I don't really care about the collector's box. I like this thing. That's adorable. And I was wearing the boxers. But again, I want the steelbook case. And honestly, for $80, that's not like a hidden advertisement. That's actually, I think that's cool. Catherine Full Body released September 3rd, PlayStation 4. I believe it's also on Xbox One and PC. I'm not sure about Switch. If they don't launch this on Switch, or is this only coming to PS4? You know what? I'll check that out sometime, but I could have sworn this was also coming to other platforms because I played the original Catherine on 360. Huh. Yeah, whatever. Not really important. No, I'm really stoked with Catherine, especially for the addition of the new Rin character. You have Vincent, the main character. He's dating Catherine, and then ends up thinking he has like a one-night stand with Catherine, the blonde one. The blonde chick is a succubus, and at the end of the game, you have to make a decision to go with her, and basically then you fight the King of Hell and become a demon and King of Hell, from what I remember. Or you choose, when you find at the very end, you find out that you haven't slept with her, that she's the cause of all this crap that's been going on. This is the best way I can describe this game. Seriously, go play it. Then you can stick with your Catherine. She's like pregnant, and there's a whole bunch of other shit to go down it. It's an interesting And then the final puzzle boss fight with Catherine, you actually have to move blocks around with her. It's a lot of really interesting crap, but then this new character adds just kind of a third element. There's theories out there that because I don't think this has been confirmed, that Rin is an angel. So that's kind of why I've led up to this, because this Catherine with a K, is a succubus. Catherine with a C is a human, and then you have Rin, who people suspect is an angel, which I think is a fairly good guess on what everything is. I've spent way too much time on this topic. I'm sorry. I love Catherine, and I'm very excited for this. That article was by Nathan Onstadt, by the way. All right, moving on to another article. If things will load, because I just make bad choices with my life. All right, well, that article was taking forever to load. I actually went and looked it up. Apparently, Catherine Full Body is going to be a PlayStation exclusive. For some reason, I remember reading somewhere that it was coming to other consoles. But apparently, it's going to be PlayStation exclusive, which is fine, because it was really going to be the only console I played it on. Also, I like the fact that it's also coming to the Vita, so I can play it in the tub. Yes, I play my Vita in the tub. I also play my Switch in the tub. If you don't like it, come fight me. Next article we have, the Saints come marching to Switch with Saints Row the 3rd this May. Article of Peter Glogowski of PC Gamer. Or, no, this is Destructoid, sorry. Love this. I love Saints Row. Saints Row 1, I stand by it. That game was like a serious, we're trying to fight GTA. It was still a little goofy, but it was a lot more of a serious game from what I remember. 2, it was starting to get goofy. 3 was where we're just like, okay, screw it. We're not going to try and mimic Grand Theft Auto. We're going to be, if Grand Theft Auto is a parody of American culture, we're going to parody the English adaptation of American culture. We're going to parody the parody and just make everything just ridiculous as shit. And I love it. And the fact that this is coming to the Switch, I'm pumped. I love that I get another chance to play Saints Row the 3rd. I love to play it on the channel, but I don't think I could play it in its I don't want to say entirety, but I can't do it justice because I can't play the soundtrack because most of it's licensed music. But, I mean, that's the biggest reason why I remember Saints Row is why the song by the Presidents of the United States, Lump, is still one of my favorite songs. It's because of the Saints Row games. Sorry, again, I'm getting distracted, not reading the articles. Deep Silver has announced it will be porting Saints Row the 3rd to Nintendo Switch as the full package edition. Yeah, that's right, full package edition on May 10th, 2019. For those unaware, that was the version of the game which included all the DLC and was essentially a Game of the Year re-release. There was no mention of exclusive features or additions, but this should retain the co-op support the original had. I have some incredibly mixed feelings on Saints Row the 3rd upon release. I thought it was a huge step back from Saints Row 2 and one that felt lacking in content. The campaign attempted to hide its shortcomings under absurdist humor, and the dramatic shift to a more cartoony art style didn't make sense to me as time has gone on. I've grown to actually like the visuals of the game, but I still feel this is the weakest entry in the series due to its sloppy campaign structure. It also completely wastes Hulk Hogan and Sasha Grey as characters. Sasha Grey was in? Really? I mean, I don't know who Sasha Grey is. No. Do you believe me? Even with all that negativity, I can't deny the appeal of having a GTA-like game on the Switch. Being able to take that to a friend's house and co-op through the city was a blast. It would make for some great road trips, too. Maybe if the support does well, we can get the infinitely better Saints Row 2 and 4 on the system. Honestly, just bring 4. You don't need 1 or 2. Just bring 4. 1. First point, just bring you only really need to bring over 4. 2, maybe if this does well, we'll finally get Saints Row 5. Sorry, you can tell how much I want Saints Row 5. No, I like this idea. I'm going to disagree a little bit with the art. Well, I mean, sure, maybe I don't remember Saints Row 2 that much, so I can't comment on the narrative structure. And even then, I can't really remember much about the plot of 3 now that I really think about it. I remember 4 wholeheartedly. 4 was great. With the whole thing with the aliens and the kind of like Matrix world. It was all kind of a joke on the Matrix. And then, 3 was goofy. 3 was cartoony. And I like how he said, as time went on, they actually grew to like it. And again, I think the state, it's what I was talking about earlier. I think going between Saints Row 2 and 3, the reason there was such a tonal shift was because Deep Silver, or Saints Row, had just decided at that point, okay, we're going to, like I said, stop trying to do Grand Theft Auto. We're going to take all those like crazy, insane bits of Grand Theft Auto and just push those and go balls to the wall with them. We're going to, if Grand Theft Auto is this absurd, we're going to do 10 levels past that just because we can and make it all cartoony so it's fun. You can run around naked, but your junk is pixelated. I love what they did with Saints Row 3, personally. You want to tell me that you thought it lacked content, that it lacked whatever? Okay, fine. Maybe you're right. Again, I have to go back and play the third game because, again, it's been a while. But as far as the tone of Saints Row 3, loved it. I am all for this. Let's see here. I guess because like the last 3 articles have all been re-release stories. And if this one will, again, like the other ones, flippin' load. Geez, this is the problem when I do shows like this, that I have tons of articles. I know I'm going to be stuck here waiting for articles just to load up. There we go. All right, another article on Destructoid. Classic Resident Evil titles will be coming to the Nintendo Switch in May. Article by Chris Moyes. Capcom and Nintendo have announced the release dates for Switch ports of classic survival horror titles Resident Evil HD Remastered, Resident Evil 0, and Resident Evil 4. All 3 ports, which were first announced back in October, will hit the hybrid console on May 21st, thus making Resident Evil 4 probably the most re-released video game since, I don't know, Another World. Pre-orders for all 3 titles open on February 28th, although there is no word on price nor whether these games will see a physical release. I'm sure we'll be clued in on that very soon. Accompanying the exciting news is a terrible image featuring some weird body language and Ashley sitting on a barrel. Resident Evil. Ashley sitting. Really? I think that picture, is very Resident Evil 4. That's the weird body language that they're talking about. He looks so depressed in this one compared to the hopeful Leon Kennedy that we got in 2. No, I'm again, another article that I'm going to say I like. Resident Evil 4 is probably the only one out of these remasters that I'll probably play. It's a time thing, and necessarily, I always say this, I don't like fixed camera perspective games like the original Resident Evil games. I'm just not a fan. But I'll definitely probably play. I say definitely. I definitely probably will play the Resident Evil 4 remake. But I'll probably play it on PS4 if I do it. And when I say if I do it, I mean on the channel. I still have the PS2 version. But feel free to say and say that about me having a PS2 game. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I still think that this image works perfectly well for Resident Evil 4, although when taken like this, it's kind of funny. You know what? I love Destructoid's humor. I really like Destructoid's humor. All right, moving on. We got an article from IGN. This is kind of a long one, but it talks about a game that I'm extremely excited for, because as soon as I heard that this game was happening, I was immediately excited. And then just the more and more I see about this, I'm sitting here going, yes, 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 please launch this game tomorrow. This is Judgement, really is Yakuza plus Ace Attorney. Judgement, I believe it's called Judge Eyes in Japan. I believe is the direct translation when we first got a look at this. It's the next game by Ryuga Gotoku, I think is the studio's name. I always have to read it. I have to be looking at it when I say the name. This article is by Joe Scrubbles of IGN. It was very easy to look at Judgment's reveal and lazily decide that it was a Yakuza with Ace Attorney dropped in. I think that sounds great. I know I did. The thing is, having played the game's opening 2 hours, that doesn't feel like a lazy comparison. It's just a correct one. In its component parts, this is a Yakuza game. We're back in the seats. Or back in that series' ever-evolving Kamurocho setting, now updated to be an uncanny take on real-life Tokyo's Kabukicho. The flip was that? I feel like something's about to crash. Kabukicho district as of 2018, filled as it always is with neon distractions and strangers with stranger quests. It's as beautiful as Yakuza 6, but crucially, Judgment's Kamurocho felt more alive in my time in it. All right, sorry about that. I expect it to happen at least once or twice more because we still have, 6 articles to go? Let's see here. In its component parts, this is a Yakuza game, more back series ever, blah, blah, blah. Strange. Okay, there we go. It's as beautiful as Yakuza 6, but crucially, Judgment's Kamurocho felt more alive in my time in it. The open world map is once again densely seasoned with shops, minigames, and arcades, and I'm assured that the meatier side activities that made Yakuza 0 such an enormous prospect will make an appearance along the way. If you want a quintessential Yakuza anecdote, I took a break from heading to speak to a powerful gang member to spend 10 minutes playing a Kamurocho-themed parody of House of the Dead. What is it? I would... while it feels like time is of the essence, I'll go and play. I went and played Mahjong for I think about 10 hours trying to get a trophy, or tried to get not even a trophy. I was trying to get something on the completion list fixed. This is also in Kiwami 2, not in Yakuza 0, but beside the point. In Yakuza Kiwami 2, I played Mahjong for about 10 hours just trying to complete something on the completion list so that I could get a trophy for getting everything on the completion list. And I also have to say, it made me dream about Mahjong that night, and I also really enjoy playing Mahjong in that game. To the point where I will load up Yakuza Kiwami 2 just to play Mahjong. I really enjoy it. But no, more on the thing. I mean, saying it, you make it sound like, oh, it's just another Yakuza game. I love the Yakuza franchise. They're fun. They're stupid and they're over the top. And yes, I understand it's a crime drama. Yes, I understand it's all this stuff. And no, these are not me making digs. I like the fact that it's kind of dumb. I like the fact that it's so over the top. I like the fact that as Kiryu, I can take a moped and slam it over a guy's head and he didn't die. That's awesome. I love the franchise. Hell, I'd play them all on the channel if I could get my hands on 3, 4, or 5. And 6. Well, actually, I can get my hands on 6 because that's actually on the PS4. I'm talking if I can get my hands on 3, 4, 5 for the PS4. That's a different story, and that's something for a different day. But what I'm actually saying here is I never felt that Kamurocho was boring or felt dead. I mean, sure, you might want to say you really couldn't interact with a lot of the people walking around, sure. But never did I feel like I needed to, or did I really care. But either way, I'm getting away. I'm now just gushing about Yakuza and not focusing on this. And yes, it brings along Yakuza's wild shifts in tone, too. Lead character Takayuki Yagami, that's a really fun name, is a lawyer turned PI haunted by his successful defense of an apparent serial murderer, and we see multiple flashbacks, emotive speeches, and flourishing laments on that subject, but he also has time for comic interludes and unexpected detours. I'm told side quests won't be quite as strange as Yakuza's sub-stories, so probably no fights against a whole club of adult babies here. Don't you dare mock that. That was so fun. But they will push you down very different avenues than the core story. You know what? I loved the fight against the club of adult babies. It didn't get into my Let's Play just because if I did all the side quests, I'd still be playing that game like a year later. Although there are games I am playing a year later, but again, we'll table that for another time. It isn't just borrowing the story structure of Yakuza. While the director has said Judgment won't feature characters from the series it's spinning off from, it does share some elements. Most prominently, the early stages reintroduce the Tojo clan, Kamurocho's most powerful organized crime consortium. It seems fairly certain that the clan will retain the same uneasy ally/enemy status we've seen in the studio's older games. Okay, so, wait. Ally / you mean that that'll still kind of be fighting with the Tojo clan and the, oh my god. I don't know why I'm blanking here. It was why can't I think of the other clan that was fighting with Tojo? This Tojo clan was who Kiryu was with in Kamurocho. The guys Majima were with. I'm blanking here. I don't know why. Either way, not entirely sure what he's getting at exactly, but again, we've known that those elements are still going to be in this game. Speaking of enemies, there's no real explanation I've seen for why a former defense lawyer is such a proficient fighter, but Yagami has some some familiary violent skills to deal with those who get in the way of his work. After criticism for the slimmed-down combat of Yakuza 6, Ryuga Gotoku Studio has pushed Judgement back towards Yakuza 0's more varied approach. Yagami's two switchable fighting styles are designated for one-on-one matchups and mass brawls, respectively, both of which are plentiful thanks to random encounters in the open world, and come with the usual mix of over-the-top heat action finishers, now called EX actions, for no real reason. I've also seen him on a skateboard do a flip trick and kick a guy in the face who was in a car. That's a thing. I am very excited for this. In improvised street weaponry, a seemingly enormous skill tree only promises to add more, and an early favorite is the unlockable ability to bounce off a wall and grab an aggressor's head with your legs for a spinning takedown. All of which to say is that yes, this feels very much like a Yakuza game, minus that game's recurring cast members, and it's those new characters that turn this into something else. And you may have guessed what that is based on the headline. Yagami's position as a private investigator hired by lawyers to help crack cases helps introduce a system of systematic wrinkles to the usual fabric of Yakuza. You'll be identifying suspects based on visual clues, gathering evidence at crime scenes, then having to present the right evidence to unlock witness testimonies. Oh, that's cool. I knew about the we've seen Yagami spying on people with a drone and following people and all that stuff. I've not seen that unlock witness testimony. That's cool. Sorry, all of which more investigations. Dialogue's a big part of all of that, with bonuses awarded for asking the right questions. I'm actually kind of pumped for that. That's cool. It truly does feel like next-gen Ace Attorney, although if you wanted to be picky, it's actually closer to a Miles Edgeworth game than a Phoenix Wright game. While I'm told there will be courtroom scenes in Judgment, the bulk of your investigation work takes place on the streets. It's more detection than objection, so to speak. Gross. The developers have added their own ideas into the mix. You'll be using a drone to perform some more secretive reconnaissance, meaning naturally drone racing has become a side activity. Actually really excited for that. Mostly because I've seen professional drone racing and it's insane. Capcom's cartoon lawyers never resorted to action film violence to get their way, which is very much an option in some circumstances here. Wasn't Phoenix Wright? Wasn't he a character in Marvel vs. Capcom? Or one of the Marvel vs. Capcoms? If I remember correctly. Didn't he shout things at people? Again, I'm not a big fighting game guy. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like I've seen footage of that. Even this in early in the game, it's a surprisingly natural mix. If pulled off right throughout the game, it could ultimately lead to a more consistently interactive game than Yakuza has tended to offer, where the studio's mainstay series has tended to alternate between bizarre all-action gameplay and straight-faced cutscene dialogue. Judgment seems to be transforming those quieter moments into gameplay too. It could easily be read as a play to capture a Western gaming audience more used to being a part of the story than being told one. I mean, look, maybe it's because I like being told the story. I don't necessarily have to... How to put it? I become the character I'm playing. So, I actually feel like I'm a part of the story as Kiryu, even while I'm going around beating the crap out of people. And also, the tonal shifts in Yakuza never really threw me off, just because I feel like that... It wasn't something that was accidental. It was something that Ryuga Gotoku was actually trying to accomplish. They were trying to make things over the top. They're trying to make it a little crazy at certain points. I mean, it's clearly evident with the game's sense of humor. I keep saying this. I'm very excited for this game. This article is selling me more and more. I don't think the author, I think it was Seth Macy, has anything against the Yakuza series. I would argue I probably love the series more than he does, but there's something wrong with the level that he likes it. It's probably just how much I freaking love it's just how much I freaking love Yakuza. It holds a weird special place in my heart. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is just a next generation. Okay, we've told 6 games in the Yakuza series. Let's do something. We can keep the world, we keep the engine, but let's push it more. Maybe with a different character, we can tell different stories. We can do different things. Maybe that's why Yakuza got kind of stale to people's eyes, because you played as... How many franchises do you play 6 games where you play the same character? I know that's kind of a weird thing to ask, but honestly, I can't think of that many franchises that have that many games where you play the same exact character. Now, you can maybe argue stuff like Assassin's Creed, where you technically play as Miles for what? There's 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, 3, 5 games. Spoilers, I guess, if you didn't know that Miles dies in 3. But that game came out in, 2012? Deal with it. 7 years ago. Jesus Christ, I'm old. What was I talking about? I'm sorry, I keep doing this. I keep going off on weird tangents. But I mean, but again, how many games where you play as one main character for like 6 entries in the franchise, and they're all like feature length, long games with that winding story of gang politics and everything that Yakuza has? Of course, that game's gonna get stale after a while. I still think they're fun to play. I still enjoy them, and I still enjoy what they can do with those stories, even though they're all kind of the same thing. Because it mostly just ends with Kiryu getting shirtless and fighting a guy with another cool tattoo. Sadly, it's kind of what Yakuza is. But again, I think going to a different character but still keeping the lore of the Yakuza universe, I think is really cool. I really think that they're stepping on something here. Sorry, again, I got lost in my mind. There's evidence that elsewhere this marks the first time since the original Yakuza game that the series will feature an English language dub as well as the original Japanese, bringing in recognized talent to help tell its twisting story, including the likes of Yuri Spider-Man Lowenthal. Ooh! And Matthew McCree Mercer. Oh, I'm even more excited. I think that's actually been confirmed that an English dub is yes, it's going to happen. I retweeted it somewhere where I said, yes, we don't have to read. And that's what I loved about the original Yakuza, was the fact that there was an English track. I just wish Kiwami also had an English track, but that might just be me. That might be a warning sign for Yakuza purists, but full Japanese VO and English subtitles remain, and the two styles can be switched between at any time. It's a clear attempt to open up what can seem as an impenetrable series to newcomers, right down to the fact that the subtitles and dub titles are slightly different translations, with the former more literal and the latter more westernized. Okay, you know what? In all honesty, I know a lot of people. I have arguments with this with people when I talk about anime. I prefer dubs. I will always take a dub over a sub, personally. And people ask me why, and my answer. Oh, okay. There are some times where I won't listen to a dub when the voices are just bad. But for the most part, I prefer dubs. And honestly, it's because when I watch stuff, I'm usually playing a game, or I'm working, or I'm doing something. So I can't sit and read text while I'm trying to do stuff. And same thing with Yakuza. It kind of sucked that I had to spend so many of the cutscenes not looking at the characters. I was reading text. Because like my eyes focus on the text and I don't see what's going on the screen sometimes. That's, in all honesty, I'm glad there's dub. Whether or not all of this is a push for a bigger audience outside of Japan, it's definitely a push to feel different. With Yakuza 6 apparently marking the end of Kazuma Kiryu's story, the series developers are seemingly looking to try something new within their own traditional strengths. Yes, Judgement feels like Yakuza, and yes, it feels like Ace Attorney, but by feeling like both, it feels entirely unlike anything else. I like that. Who did write this? Because I did reference the article. It was Joe Scrabbles, not Seth Macy. My last point, actually, you know what? My last point is kind of a correction of an older point. I said 6 games with Kazuma. Technically, it's 7. Not technically, it is 7 if you include 0, or 6.5, I guess, if you really want to get technical, because you also play as Majima for half of that one. But then do you include the original 1 and 2 as different from Kiwami and Kiwami 2, because they were technically the same stories but different? All right, I'm getting really too into the weeds here. This show has already gone on way too long. All right, well, I closed a bunch of tabs. Yeah, I know I had a shitload of tabs. I do that just so I don't forget which articles I use, so I can provide the links down in the description. So hopefully the technical problems will cease. Everything looks like it's opened and fine with just these 6 articles that we have left. So, all right, moving on. Next article, Halo Infinite will be a spiritual reboot for the franchise. IGN Unfiltered, article Brian Barnett, we already covered that. Honestly, I like a spiritual reboot for Halo. It's like I said, I like the idea of a linear shooter, again, that's just about shooting aliens. Yeah, Halo had a really cool story, but I think they tried to get a little too fancy with it, bringing in all the stuff with the books. And I don't know, maybe you like that stuff, but I thought by the time we hit like 4 and 5, it just got really overly confusing. I like the stuff with Cortana in, I think it was 5, where she became the villain. That was cool and all. But again, in all honesty, it's a series that probably should have stopped with 3. No matter how much I love it, I'm going to be entirely honest, to go to another Xbox franchise, Gears of War should have stopped at 3. We did not need Judgment, even though Judgment was okay. I think Judgment was by People Who Could Fly, too. It was the people who did Bulletstorm. They shouldn't have done that. They should have just done Bulletstorm, too. Either way. No, I think the Coalition did a good job with 4. I enjoyed 4. But in all honesty, Gears of War could have stopped at 3. I mean, I'll be honest, I'll play Gears of War 5, but still, you get what I'm talking about. It's a series that should have ended, but honestly, if they do it right, I don't know, maybe I'd like to see Halo come back and not be crap. Let's see. Halo Infinite will be a spiritual reboot for the Halo franchise, according to 343 Industries. In this month's episode of IGN Unfiltered, Ryan McCaffrey sat down with Bonnie Ross, head of 343 Industries, and discussed the development of Halo Infinite, among many other topics. Watch the full interview below. While Halo Infinite is effectively Halo 6, the team at 343 is bringing their experience with the entire Halo franchise to bear in developing the new game, which aims to recapture what makes Halo such an iconic franchise. We're kind of calling it a spiritual reboot, Ross said. That's kind of how we talk about it, end quote. According to Ross, 343 had, and I quote, great learning moments with Halo, the Master Chief Collection, the multiplayer suite in Halo 4, and the approach to REQ packs and free maps in Halo 5 multiplayer, and the studio has been keeping those moments in mind while crafting Halo Infinite. And I quote, there has been a lot of introspective time to really reflect on what we have done as 343, said Ross. Where have we made mistakes? Where have we hit it right? What does Halo mean to all of us? That Halo Infinite reveal trailer we did is what Halo means to the studio, end quote. What that trailer meant? What the fuck are you talking about? What that trailer... What this trailer did for you as a studio, that trailer didn't tell us shit. It was, oh, here's a bunch of cool alien animals, and then Master Chief helmet. That's what Halo is. Jesus H. I'm sorry, that I don't know why that irritated me. I am so sorry for all those weird cuts. I get a phone call earlier when I just stand up to stretch my legs for a couple minutes. That turns into like a 30-minute break, and then I just got a text message I had to answer. Cripes. Yeah, like I said, I was just bashing not bashing the Halo. Well, yeah, I was bashing the Halo Infinite trailer. I didn't hate it. It's just it didn't show us anything about the game. God damn it. And I really hope this article gets into what the game is about. Ross continued, and I quote, maybe it took us 2 games to get there. No. And I think we've done good things and bad things, yeah. But what does Halo mean to us? It is about hope and wonder and heroism and humanity and community and bringing a community together. God damn it. That's what the trailer is. Am I thinking of a different trailer? That's what we want to do, end quote. Seriously, am I thinking of a different trailer? Like, how did that... I'm like, I can maybe get heroism. I mean, it's just... But, for more of the IGN Unfiltered, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you can watch that whole thing. No, all in all, I mostly wanted to bring up this article, not necessarily for what the article said. I mean, as you can see, it really doesn't talk about a whole hell of a lot. But... I don't know. I mean, tell me what do you guys think? I kind of want to spawn this discussion. Like, do you think Halo should have just died a long time ago, and now it's basically its corpse is just being dragged through town just to make money? Because honestly, that's how Halo has felt even more than Gears of War. Like, Gears of War, it feels like it's at least still respectable. Like, Gears of War 4, I stand by it. It was a good game. I didn't play Halo 5, but from what I heard from people, weren't big fans. Like, from what I've heard from a lot of Halo fans, the series should have ended. But from other people that I know who like Gears of War, they say, you know what? Probably should have ended, but I still enjoy it. I still like the series. So again, as somebody who loves the other big shooter franchise at Xbox or Microsoft, whatever you want to call it, I don't know. I think Halo should have ended. And I don't know. If done right, maybe they can bring the Halo of old back, but I don't have many hopes. in all honesty. So, all right, before we get into actually like the next article, which is actually to spawn a different conversation, that I just kind of wanted to go off on a topic. We're going to start with a little bit of fluff news. Horizon Zero Dawn passes 10 million copies sold. By Colin Stevens. Horizon Zero Dawn, which is celebrating its second anniversary today, has officially sold well over 10 million copies worldwide via the PlayStation blog. Guerrilla Games managing director Herman Hulst, that's a name, revealed the numbers saying, and I quote, "The idea that we were able to bring Aloy's journey..." I would just call her Alloy, not Aloy, but whatever. I don't know why Aloy annoys me. Journey to so many players is astounding. We've been deeply moved by the enormous amount of fan creations you've posted online, as well as the heartfelt letters you've sent hearing your favorite moments from Aloy's journey, end quote. Along with announcing the sales milestone, Hulst took the opportunity to reveal little-known details about the development of the game. He revealed the prototyping gameplay elements began as far back as 2010 when most of the studio was still finishing Killzone 3. Because they didn't have yet an in-game model for Aloy, they used the model for Jammer and Intruder Pilot from Killzone 3 in early testing phases of the game. It appears they used this model while testing the first machine that the development team designed and finished, the robotic T-Rex Thunderjaw, but in gameplay prototyping, the beast looked more like a child's toy made from plastic bricks. This was a practical design, as each colored brick represents a different part of the beast that could be shot off. For some reason, this looks like Metal Gear mixed with Kingdom Hearts to me. That's what this looks like, in my opinion. It's really weird. Honestly, I still want to know what... I kind of understand what the animal robot's purpose was. That they did different forms of like terraforming the earth and whatnot. But what good would have a giant T-Rex done? That was always kind of weird to me. I don't know. I guess evil AI machine that's creating robots that was then taken over by oh my god, he played a character in... Oh my god, why can I not remember the bad guy from... Not the bad guy. I can't even remember his name. Man, I gotta replay Horizon Zero Dawn. I can't remember the dude's name. Who he took the virus or whatever at the very end of the game. There was that. There was the he also played a character in that Xbox exclusive that involved the time, it involved time traveling. Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross were in my head, but I know that's not correct. I'm sorry, I'm getting stuck on the wrong points here. Either way, I'm going to get off this because this thought process, this train of thought was going nowhere. In line with the Jammer prototype, one of the early prototype machines ended up being a holographic Easter egg in Killzone Shadowfall, a PlayStation 4 launch title. The design didn't make it into Zero Dawn, but many behavioral routines, yada, yada, yada. Okay, this is just talking up some stuff maybe we didn't know about Horizon Zero Dawn. And like I said, this article was just kind of a fun little lead-in to the next one. But honestly, love Horizon Zero Dawn. You haven't had a chance to play it? Heavily suggest it. All right, moving on. This is the actual article I really did kind of want to talk about. Anthem's physical sales are apparently half of Andromeda, or Mass Effect Andromeda's. Tom Phillips of Eurogamer. Anthem topped the UK box game sales chart during its first week of release, but with half the physical sales of BioWare's previous game, Mass Effect Andromeda. Without digital sales through EA's Origin service on PC or download sales on PlayStation or Xbox, it's difficult to draw expectation or exact comparisons, but from the comparisons we can make, Anthem sales do not paint a hugely positive picture. Anthem only managed half the launch week sales of Andromeda is disappointing, as Andromeda only managed half the launch week sales of Mass Effect 3. Again, we're talking box sales here, which, okay, yeah. As an online-only game, you might expect a higher number of digital sales, so let's... okay, again, let's... You want to get the more detailed numbers, go ahead and check this out. But this is something I honestly want to talk about, because while I was playing Anthem, I was having a conversation with Brian Gade in the comments of one of the Anthem videos, and we were talking about this whole games as service sort of model. When I say games as service, like Destiny, Anthem, The Crew, Skull and Bones, another game Ubisoft is working on, The Division, another game Ubisoft is working on. All these sorts of games, I think they run into an issue that MMOs run into. And that is that companies keep trying to flood the market. I think really multiplayer games in general have this issue. You need concurrent logins. You need people to continue taking up the servers, because if you're making a multiplayer game, it has to be part of the game. I stand by it. Anthem feels really weird if you think of it as a multiplayer game. I like to think of it more as an action RPG with a multiplayer element, because I think Anthem is really fun, but I feel it feels very barren because they're trying to shoehorn in this multiplayer thing into in my opinion, a single-player game. Again, that's my take on Anthem. But I think developers are, and again, I think what I exactly said to Brian in the comments was that all these developers are trying to recapture the lightning in the bottle that was the original Destiny. I think Destiny came out and did it best the first time, and now everyone's trying to go, oh, well, here's our MMO on console. Here's our MMO, or MMO without being an MMO. You know, I'm not saying it's this exact same as Final Fantasy XIV, Black Desert, and a few other titles. But they're all trying to be this they're all trying to take after each other and kind of fight with each other. I think this market is a lot more fixed than the market for single player games. And if you want to know what I mean by that is, I don't think that how to put this. These games as service are, again, I'm gonna compare them to MMOs. With MMOs, do you have a World of Warcraft account and do you play 5 or 6 MMOs all at once? From the people that I know that actually played a lot of MMOs, because I never really did, I've always enjoyed story games, personally. But people who I've known that play a lot of MMOs pick one. They pick one MMO to stick with. And I think that's what they're going to run into this problem. Either everybody's just going to play Anthem, or just going to play Destiny, or just going to play Sea of Thieves. Those people are weird. Or so many people are going to play XYZ. Really, eventually there's going to be one standout, and without enough people joining the servers, the other games are just going to die out. Let's be honest. I think we've seen the same thing with the Battle Royale sort of thing, that Fortnite's just dominated. PUBG and Apex are pretty much the only two that I still remember hearing about. The concept of hero shooters was really cool when it first came out, but I mean, let's be honest, I haven't heard jack shit about Overwatch in forever. I mean, yeah, it's grown into an esport, and yeah, an Overwatch team won Best Esports Team of 2018 in the Game Awards, which I heavily disagree. It should have been Astralis, the CSGO team, who, by the way, is going to the final in Katowice. This kind of depresses me. I was rooting for MIBR. Again, we'll table that. But it should have been Astralis. I mean, they were the number one CSGO team in the world. They were the first team ever to win the Intel Extreme Grand Slam. Yeah, it should have been Astralis. Sorry, again, I got off topic there. Overwatch was extremely popular for a year and a half, and I've not heard anything. I don't know many people who... I used to know people who played it hours on end, and now I know tons of people who do not play them. That's the thing with these games. They have to... These multiplayer games can't exist without a large audience. Because honestly... How many people play the original Destiny anymore? Probably since Destiny 2 came out, probably a lot of people have just jumped ship, or they've gone to something else. Like with Anthem, how many people have played Anthem for a little bit, or even finished the story or whatever, and now are going to go play the Division 2 when it comes out, and stop playing Anthem? Or never going to play the Division 2 because they're stuck playing Anthem, or never play Anthem because they're playing the Division 2. This is what I'm talking about when I say the market is a lot more fixed for these multiplayer games. Because I think it's more likely in this area of gaming that you stick with one title. But with story games, I'll play 2 or 3 at the same time. Hell, right now I'm playing 7, 8, 10 games all at the same time. You could argue I shouldn't do that. I should actually sit down and finish games, but that's again a different story for a different time. But yeah, this is just my thoughts on this games as service thing. I don't think it's a sustainable business model for a lot of these companies. But I think they're going to keep doing it because I think they're going to go for fast payouts on these games of people buying cosmetic upgrades, of people buying DLCs, and people buying this all up front, and then the company's going to abandon the game, and all the gamers are going to abandon the game within 6-7 months, and then the game's unplayable after that, and then you get a $60 paperweight. I mean that's my thing with it. Again, while I think story games might be more of a financial risk for companies, and I can see where that would be true, just because, you spend all this money and then it doesn't sell, and then you can't find a way to make up after purchase, sales, such as DLC, such as cosmetic add-ons, such, all that stuff. Which is why a lot of these online games are so popular. I think I read an article a couple years ago. It was about EA. They were talking about how EA publishes so many different phone games. You can get the free one, and you can play Sims free, but with ads. But you pay $1 to but you can pay $1 to get rid of ads. They say, what did I read? It was something along the lines of, it's easier to find one person who will spend $10 on an iPhone game than it is to find 10 people who spend $1 to get rid of ads. If you get what I'm saying, they're going to throw out these sort of games trying to reach in those people who are going to pay $10 for extra stuff, $10 for extra stuff, $10 for extra stuff. They're going to try and take this, like I said, medium-sized payout now, as opposed to try and make The Witcher and make out like Bandits, or make a good BioWare game and make out like Bandits. So they're going to keep trying to go with this mass appeal bullshit, or really, like I said, these games as service models, and keep just taking the shotgun approach to a very finite market. I don't know if you understand what I'm getting at, because I feel like I danced around topics a little bit there at the end, but again, that's my take. That's my take on it. I think that this market is going to collapse, just like the multiplayer shooter idea, just like Battle Royale's idea. Everything has a Battle Royale now. It'll go away soon. It's just, that's about all I got on this topic. I mean, tell me what your thoughts are. I mean, moving on. All right, let's see here. We got Cyberpunk 2077 will be at E3 2019, article Joe Scrubble's IGN. Let's see here. Just in case you were worried the CD Projekt Red would be joining the ranks of companies that won't be attending E3 this year, we have good news. Cyberpunk 2077 will be at the show. This is about my one reason to actually watch E3 this year. I love E3, but in all honesty, with all the people who aren't going to be there, this year's, I'm thinking, is probably going to suck. The game's official Twitter account made clear that the much-anticipated RPG will be in attendance. It doesn't say in what capacity, so don't get too excited about a playable demo yet, but after last year's gameplay reveal, we can be sure there'll be more to see. For those of you asking, yes, we will be at E3 this year, Cyberpunk 2077 Cyberpunk game, blah, blah, blah. Worry about CDPR skipping the show is somewhat founded. E3 has become less important to major developers and publishers in recent years, with the likes of EA moving its showings off-site and Sony skipping the event altogether in 2019. Still makes me sad. That less crowded space could be seen as an opportunity for companies like CD Projekt to take the spotlight. However, Microsoft, for example, is reportedly going to debut its next-generation consoles at the show this year. Again, that's only a rumor. As far as I know, we don't have confirmation on that yet. We know that it's a first-person RPG and the targeting current-gen consoles, and it looks incredible, but there's a lot to discover about Cyberpunk, blah, blah, blah. Again, this is something that I wanted to kind of just go through the information in the article, but actually then kind of go to a prediction of mine, because I've had conversations with people about when Cyberpunk's going to release. I was guessing late 2020 or 2021. Now that we know it's going to be at E3 2019, and people have shown me and told me to look up certain articles that have said that actually CD Projekt Red, it looked like they were aiming at 2019 for a release date, I'm going to make a prediction, or a more defined prediction. From E3 2019, my prediction is Cyberpunk 2077 will come out within 1 year of E3 2019. So from E3 2019 to that date a year later, I think Cyberpunk 2077 will come out in that time span. In my opinion, if they are targeting 2019, we might see it in the fall, but I think they're going to do something like what they did with, the reason why I think it's going to be within that year span is because it kind of reminds me of what they did with The Witcher 3, where they showed it 1 year's E3, kind of let the hype build, started doing the media rounds a few months before the game came out and a few weeks before the game came out, and then boom, the game dropped. I believe it was in May of 2015, was when Witcher 3 came out. So that's my guess. That's my reasoning for why Cyberpunk 2077 will come out either late 2019, early 2020. Again, my guess. Based on that and based on the fact that it's going to be at E3, it's just a vibe I'm getting. Again, so take my prediction for what you will. Coming up next, we got an article, digital storefront GOG has been hit with layoffs. Kind of makes me sad. I like GOG. In all honesty, I actually like it a little better than Steam. I think it's easier to use. Digital storefront GOG, short for Good Old Games, has been also owned by CDPR. You can get really good deals on the Witcher franchise. Has laid off around a dozen people. A representative reached out to Kotaku to confirm the news, but also cautioned against the layoffs being seen as a bleak sign for things to come for the store. And I quote, letting people go is never easy, the company told Kotaku. We have been rearranging certain teams since October 2018, affecting and closing around a dozen positions last week. At the same time, since the process started, we have welcomed nearly twice as many new team members and currently hold 20 open positions, end quote. However, Kotaku also notes that an anonymous employee with the company suggests that GOG's financials were more in the red than the company was letting go. The company also announced that its Fair Package program, which gave customers from countries where a title they purchased was more expensive than its country of origin store credit to make up the difference, is ending. Okay, so given that that's what they said, they're ending that. I mean, like I said, GOG has great sales. It's not royalty free. What the hell is it called? Oh, I can't think of DRM free. There we go. I don't know why I was thinking royalty. That Fair Package program. I think there was a lot of really neat things for the store, but I don't think it needs it. Like I said, I think it's a simple thing to use. It's got good games, good deals. Like I said, you can get the Witcher games almost almost free. But again, GOG is owned by CD Projekt Red, I believe. But no, I mean, of course the company didn't let out exactly how dire their financial situation is. But if what they're saying here is that they've brought in so many people and that, you know, they have so many jobs opening, it doesn't make me worried for GOG. But again, it's something to keep your eye on, I guess. Though at the same time, again, I would suggest using GOG. It is good. Maybe use it and Steam, but I like GOG. So there we go. All right, moving on to our final article. Jeez, this has been too long. Article on Destructoid. It looks like there's going to be Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC after all, free and paid. Article Chris Carter of Destructoid. And just give me a second. I'm going to do a little dance. Okay, we're done. Let's see here. Square Enix has a recent history of waiting to see if things hit before they develop DLC, and when they do decide to pull the trigger, they go hard. See Final Fantasy 15. Yeah. What, didn't they just finish releasing DLC for Final Fantasy 15? Jeez, how long ago did that game come out? I'm playing it again right now, and I'm actually really enjoying it. Well, they're doing it for Kingdom Hearts 3, and their plans sound fairly expansive. After waffling about whether or not to go for it in mid-2018, it seems like the series head Tetsuya Nomura and his team has their hearts set on DLC. Speaking to Dengeki Online, Nomura states that although a re-released Final Mix Edition is how they handled things in the past, Kingdom Hearts 3 isn't necessarily just going to do that. Instead, they'll add free DLC over time, as well as, and I quote, a paid DLC with several elements all in one batch, end quote. Translation, expect some free minor add-ons and one huge premium one, likely with story implications. One of those updates will be a critical mode, an extra historical difficulty level that's still being tweaked that will, and I quote, not just be mixing around damage numbers, end quote. We waited over a decade for the Xehanort saga to conclude, and now we're waiting for DLC, but DLC or not, Kingdom Hearts 3 has long legs. Even if a PC port isn't in the cards, we'll be seeing the finale in a ton of remasters, compilations, and box sets for years, probably decades to come. No, anything to keep Kingdom Hearts 3 in my to keep playing it. I have gone way farther than my Let's Play on a personal file. That's because I started playing it and really getting into it when my PC ended up, rest in peace, my old PC. But so I've played well beyond my Let's Play, and I really need to pick the Let's Play back up. I've been busy with other things. That's again, I totally side thing to what I'm actually trying to talk about. Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC. Stoked. Excited? Other adjectives that mean the same thing. anything to keep Kingdom Hearts 3 in my hands longer. I loved Kingdom Hearts 3. Sora still annoys the living hell out of me. I'm not going to lie. I hate our hero, but I kind of like Riku. But yeah, I think this is great. You know what? I gotta say, I like Square Enix's approach to the DLC. I didn't even think about that. How actually it took them a while to announce Final Fantasy 15 DLC. You know, that they're kind of, we're not going to do day one. We're actually going to wait to see if people like the game, and if they like the game, then we'll do DLC. We're not going to split our time at development going, okay, we're going to do the game, but at the same time do DLC. I like that they go, here's the game. Now, here's some extra crap if you want. That's kind of like anthology series or whatever. I think I saw somebody in the comments for this article talk about one of the DLCs going into Kairi's story, because her story, from what I've heard, is kind of glossed over. But, all right. Well, after I've been recording for about 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I have a lot of cutting out of me sitting here, me on the phone, and me texting people to cut out. God damn it. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you made it all the way through this, thanks so much for watching. Please remember that Facebook, Twitter, the website, minds.com, links, all that stuff is down in the description as always, along with links to every article and a timestamp appearance of just about where every article is talked about. Please go view these sites and whatnot. These are the people who do the real journalism. I just aggregate things and give my opinions. I will always say that I love these sites. Honestly, I'd like to work at one of these sites somewhere down the road. You know, whatever. I also say if I could remain independent, I'd rather stay independent, you know, be my own boss sort of thing. But that's, again, that's stuff for further down the road. That's future me and you guys' problem. Right now, let's stay here in the now, just talking about video games. But like I said, support the outlets. Other than that, thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, social media is in the description. Like, comment, you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. I'm stalling because I think there's something else, but I can't think of it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, my name is AJ Gels. This is Untitled Chapter. I'm out.